Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Nelson Leis. I play Beelzebub on the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and I'm hanging with Galaxy on Comic-Con Radio.
You know what must be done, Sabrina. Claim the throne. Save precious Greendale. Your boyfriend.
All hail Sabrina.
You can't keep going on like this. It can't be all hell all the time. Sigils apertas. It's not all hell. It's all Nick.
The balance is off in hell, so it is off in heaven, so it is off on earth. To preserve one realm, you must preserve them all. Embrace your destiny, Sabrina.
Hell's under new management now.
I'm the devil's worst nightmare.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Will you help me?
Here we go again.
If you want the crown, you're going to have to prove yourself worthy of it.
That's my girl.
Being queen of hell isn't a summer job. You're putting the coven in peril just so you can see your boyfriend.
Forget about me. You have a coven to save.
Save Greendale, my family, my friends, everything I love. All right, Sam, let's finish this. Honestly, first purgatory, now hell. What's next? Heaven.
I'm the devil's worst nightmare.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Galaxy signing in for Comic-Con Radio. Coverage of pop culture events from around the globe. Amazing interviews with celebrities. Daily recaps and reviews of popular television. Movie reviews. Everything Comic-Con and fandom from around the globe. Comic-Con Radio. Get ready to enter our universe. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Galaxy for another really cool episode of Comic-Con Radio. Today we have a guest from the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Today we have Nelson Leis on Comic-Con Radio. Nelson, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Galaxy, man. Good to hear your voice. Happy to be here. Super excited to be on the airwaves, sitting here in overcast Vancouver. I'm sure it's very sunny where you are, right?
It's sunny. Weather's been up and down. You know, California is sometimes over-glorified in a way where people think we're sitting here with like drinks and it's 100 degrees all the time. But overall, it's lovely because everyone's lovely. And I'm going to give you some sunshine. So there you go. I just threw some sunshine your way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You know what? We feel the same thing up here. You know, the inverse of you guys. We're underglorified. Everybody thinks it's raining up here all the time, and we're in parkas. But it gets sunny, it gets beautiful. This is a glorious place. You know, very green, a lot of nature, and when it's sunny, it's God's country, man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Every time I have a guest from Canada, I'd say thank you, Canada, for another actor that you've been to our universe, and especially with a lot of these superhero fandom type shows. So here's the thing. How is it being, a Canadian demon? Because, I just wanted to know. I know some American ones, but how is it being a Canadian demon?
Oh, I really try to make him a international kind of infernal demon, peel back some of my natural Canadian niceness and just go for the jugular, so he's not too Canadian, man.
So when you were growing up, did you want to be a demon or an actor first?
Definitely an actor first. But what's funny is my mom called me a little rascal. That was sort of my nickname. So I think I sort of had this mischievous nature that led possibly to being a demon.
Yeah, well, when I saw that character on Sabrina, I was like, this guy looks really messed up. You play the role really well. And a lot of people can't pronounce it. And I tried, and I got it after a while. So it's
right.
Beelzebub, or is it
Beelzebub. How do you pronounce it?
It's Beelzebub.
There you go. I know,
Beelzebub.
but I just want. I know the people out there pronounce it all sorts of different ways. So Beelzebub.
Oh, even on set.
The iconic demon that everybody knows already. You know, he's been a character in a lot of things, but here in Sabrina,
That's right.
What is his role towards the show? What does he do? What is his main thing?
So he's one of the demon kings, one of the infernal kings, a.k.a. the Lord of Flies. And when you saw Beelzebub in the first season, he was there with the other demons, essentially trying to kill Sabrina and stop her from ascending to the throne. And you saw me in part 2, episode 1. And then, as you remember, Father Blackwood banished us back to hell, and now this next season you get to see us a lot because the storyline takes place in hell. So now you see us in our domain, our sort of comfort zone, which is the royal court of hell, the Infernal Palace.
So that's your hometown. Yeah. She's coming to your hometown of Canada.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's right.
She's
the city of Pandemonium, Canada. Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah. There's there's maple leaves on the wall and skulls.
And this character wears a crown on its head.
Yeah, that's part of its head. It's baked right in there, which is pretty fun. I mean, we're, referred to as the Demon King, so there's no mistaking that when I've got a crown of bone emerging from the top of my head.
It looks like such a cool prosthetic. It's a lot of work. How many hours do you sit in a chair every day to just get that done?
Yeah, I sit in the chair about, we've got it down to 2 hours now. Mike Fields is the guy who does my particular demon makeup. He's the guy who also did Deadpool, and he's like a 30-year professional. He's amazing. So we schedule about 3 hours, but he's really got it down to 2 hours now to get it on, and about half an hour to 45 minutes to get it off.
Wow. So that's like 3 hours of your day just in the chair, and then you got to take a shower because you're like, man. So 4 hours of your day goes towards getting it on and getting it off, and then you have to do your role. Sometimes are you like, I sit in a chair more than I'm on screen? Does it feel like that sometimes? Because I've spoken to people that they're like, for a 5-minute scene, I have to like do a character of 8 hours worth of work. Do you sometimes feel like, oh my God, so much goes into it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, it's like, just the prep and the removal is about 3 hours, and then getting cleaned up afterwards. Inevitably, there's all this goop in my hair when I go home. And, usually for the next 3 days, I'm finding like little pieces of sort of this gummy material on my pillow. And, but in terms of being on set, yeah, for sure. I think that first episode I was on set for 16 hours, and you'll see there's maybe 3-4 scenes where Beelzebub pops up, and which amounts to, maybe 10-15 minutes of screen time. So 16 hours for that. Yeah, it's a long day.
Did you ever realize that how big Sabrina would get, or you knew from the get-go and that's why you took the role?
I really had no idea. When I booked the role, which was in August of 2018, it hadn't launched yet. So I went in like any typical audition. And at the time, it wasn't even called Beelzebub. It was called the Infernal Kings, plural. So I realized, okay, there's a number of roles here, potentially a number of these kings that I'm vying for. I didn't know how many. Turned out that there were 3 of us. And lo and behold, I booked Beelzebub. And I had no reference points. They had said that it was very different than the original Sabrina the Teenage Witch from the 90s. So I knew that. I knew it was dark, but I hadn't seen any footage. I didn't even know I was going to do prosthetics until I booked the role. I got the call from the prosthetics company to do a cast. And then all the pieces started to come together slowly. And, I mean, I could tell the world was really cool. The set design was incredible. The costumes were amazing. Everything was top-notch. So I thought, well, this is an amazing world to play in. It's a lot of fun. But in terms of how well it was going to do, I had no idea.
Sometimes they don't want to share those things, especially with projects like Sabrina. They release their trailers in hush-hush. They do things in a hush-hush. But, you're on a great show. It's becoming iconic. A lot of people love it because the show itself has built an identity. It, caters to a lot of different likes. The horror, the this, the that. There's so many genres of people watch it, and they get the same type of enjoyment out of it. So outside of Sabrina, I know you're part of a art production group. You teach theater to like high school kids. Do you like theater more than screen acting, or is it kind of like 50-50?
I love them both. It's really, it's storytelling at the end of the day. They're just different mediums, and you learn to work in both and appreciate both for what they are. And I mean, being on stage is such a amazing, immediate, visceral experience, being in front of an audience, having that back and forth with the audience, just in terms of the energy of them. It's incredible. But I love film. I love television. I like acting. I love acting. So I'm there if the story's good.
That's it. You're there.
Yeah.
You're like, if the story's great, I'm going to do it. So with that, if someone's trying to get into acting right now and they don't know what to do, what would you recommend them?
I think act. Just act anywhere you can. It doesn't matter the medium or the genre or the budget. I think, if you're doing it in your living room with your friends, that's great. You have to start somewhere. You have to interpret story. You've got to take text and interpret it. And ideally, eventually, in front of an audience. And I think in this day and age, there are so many platforms for artists. So if you're a 14-year-old kid right now, you can pick up your iPhone. If you happen to have an iPhone, you can shoot a little movie on that, and you can put it on YouTube. I mean, it's really amazing how much exposure a young person can have right now. You can put it on Instagram TV video, for instance.
Oh, yeah, of course. Put YouTube aside, put social media platforms aside. There's so many streaming media platforms now, and it's endless. I think these platforms have changed how we view things, and it's made it easier, but it's just changed in a way where it's given so many opportunities for everyone. And I've seen some people become huge stars just from a streaming platform versus becoming a big A-lister movie star. They're like equaled out now, and which I think it's great. And a lot of big, huge A-listers want to get into like streaming stuff now, or TV shows and things like that, which before they never would do things like that. It was either a movie star or a TV star. And sometimes it would mix, but never like that. Yeah, but I saw you on Supernaturals. Was that something that was really important for you to get on?
I had done Supernatural, a smaller role on Supernatural years earlier. And as you know, they often rehire actors years later when the audience may have forgotten about them a little bit and sneak them into another role. And the one you saw was that was a guest star role, so there was a little bit more meat on the bone for me. It was just a lot of fun. I loved working with everybody there. I mean, it's such a well-oiled machine. They're on year 15, and I did mine last year. So season 14, I worked with Mark Pellegrino and Jared and Jensen and Samantha. It was so much fun. You could tell everybody had been in there for a while. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were having fun. They weren't taking it too seriously. Obviously, the work they treated seriously with reverence, and they went 100%, but it was just such a relaxed atmosphere. It was incredible. So when I heard I had the audition for it, I was more than happy to go in for it, and had a great time there, and then ended up booking the part. It was, a tremendous amount of fun.
There you go. You're on Supernaturals, which is the final season. And like you said, you got on it last year, again, with a role. Now, being part of a fandom show like Sabrina and being a character like Beelzebub, you are building a fan following. I know a lot of people's probably reaching out to you now more than ever. You're probably noticing that. Do you feel a difference in how people reach out to you? Do you see the fans growing because of that character?
Oh, yeah. I mean, every time there's sort of, a trailer that's launched, something specific that Netflix puts out in terms of promotion, I see within that day, like a tremendous amount of engagement from the fans. Obviously, the following count is increasing. Just this last week, because we did a premiere sort of screening in Vancouver, and there were a lot of red carpet photos. I saw there was a lot of engagement from the fans, which is a lot of fun. I love that. This is sort of a first for me, engaging with fans at all at this level.
Well,
this is really the sort of the largest arc that I've had. And because of just the timing that we're in right now with the industry and how all the promotion's done on social media, it's immediate, the fan feedback, which is really exciting. And I'm more than happy to engage. I love, when people reach out to me, hey, look forward to the premiere, look forward to part 3. I'll write back quite often as much as I can, like, hey, glad you're watching, hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching, all that sort of thing.
Here's the thing. From my experience in this universe, and I've been around it a while, they love characters like a Beelzebub type of character. For example, there's some Star Wars characters that didn't even have that much screen time, but their toys are priceless. So these are things that will be really cool for you. Now, I don't know if you want to be in that outfit forever and going to conventions in it and stuff like that, but this is something where I tell everyone, get a cool role on a fandom or superhero series. You're going to be eating for life because the Comic-Con conventions will always bring you out and the fans will always line up to see you, which is cool. Did you ever think when you got into theater and acting that you would wear a Beelzebub outfit on a TV series?
Never in a million years. This business, this industry is so wild. I mean, that part of what actors really like is you don't know what's going to come across your desk one day to the next. And here I am wearing this prosthetic makeup, a number of episodes now, 3 hours to get into it. Who knew? I mean, I could never have sort of like put that on my vision board and sort of like, I want to, I guess I could have, but it didn't cross my mind, and then here I am wearing this demon makeup and playing this role and putting on this sort of vocal quality, and I'm loving it. I'm having such a great time, but could never have predicted that.
Oh, absolutely. Look at some of these characters like on The Mandalorian or other TV shows like it. They've become huge, and they never thought that they would wear costumes from Star Wars walking around, and that would make them more famous than they can even think of just coming in on their own. It's just the times have changed. Look at the Avengers. Robert Downey Jr., an amazing person, but that Iron Man suit has taken him to the stars. Who would ever think of such things happening and taking people to, sky's the limits? And it's okay. But if this would have been done 20 years ago or 30 years ago, I think it would have been really different. I think with today's times, people are acceptable to these things. Also, with technology, it makes everything look 10 times better. You've been in acting for a bit. From the beginning when you started, and I wanted to ask this because it falls into that line of how people are towards roles and how things have changed. When you first started to now, have you seen a change in the industry? Do you think it's easier? Oh,
yeah. I've seen a tremendous amount of change in the last few years. I think a lot of us have in terms of like a diversity ethnically, in terms of gender, in terms of body type. And I think it's all positive. I just ran into an actress after my acupuncture yesterday, and she was saying that she was doing these musicals. I was like, oh, I didn't know you were an actress. Well, yeah, I am. But I do theater. I don't do film and television. This agent told me I was too fat. And I just my jaw dropped. And I said, you know what? Screw that. I said, we're in a very different time now. When did this agent say this to you? And it was a number of years ago. I said, that's not the world we're in now. I said, maybe there's a little bit of that residual prejudice, but I said, if you want to do film, you want to do TV, go back at that theatrical agent and get out there. I mean, there's nothing that should hold you back. And, I just thought that was such old school mentality. We're seeing people of all shapes and sizes and ethnicities do amazing work, and it shouldn't matter. It's ridiculous to me.
Well, that's good that you noticed that, and that's good that diversity. It's lovely. It's wonderful. It's needed. I think diversity really changes the game. I think it adds flavor. I think everybody being different is wonderful because look at how well loved Star Wars, I go back to that, or comic book characters or animated characters are. And we're people and we're different. So that's good that you look at it that way because they're diverse. You know, I don't see any Martians here or anybody from another planet. But when we see them on a movie or a TV show, we love them. So loving each other here, it's the same thing, baby. And, you know, that diversity is what makes these things amazing, especially on Sabrina. It's a very diverse pack on it, as you call it. When you got the gig and you went on set and you were working with everyone, I know it was still fresh, you know, part 2, as they call it, season 2. Did you feel welcomed? Were you feeling nervous, or was it just like, hey, this is normal? Because you're working with like pop icons, teen idols, stuff like that, a lot of them. So how was it fitting in?
Yeah, well, like any TV show, when you're a guest, you walk on that first day. There are those butterflies, there are those nerves. You're excited to play, but you don't know anybody there yet, so you're just sort of bubbling inside. So all of that was there inside of me. But immediately, everybody was very welcoming. I mean, Kiernan is so friendly and so welcoming. I think she takes it upon herself to really embrace anybody who is new to that cast, and for that matter, the crew. So she's really like, you know, she's the captain of that ship. I mean, Roberto Aguirre-Sacasa is the captain in terms of he's the showrunner with the vision, but in terms of like on the set, day to day, Kieran is really the captain. I mean, but she's also, you know, very social. I mean, if it was the Love Boat, you know, she would be a combination of like Captain Steubings and social director Julie, you know, to use a very dated reference.
Yeah.
I think I just really dated myself. Everybody's like, the Love Boat.
For everybody out there, the Love Boat is a ship where people fell in love on. If you go and look it up, you'll probably you'll find something. I think people know with all the reruns and stuff like that. But that's a good reference you use. Next time, use Three's Company.
Yeah, exactly. That's a few years more recent than the Love Boat. Yeah.
Let's go farther.
So Kiernan
back.
is Captain Steubings. Yeah, I'll use something from like the 1950s.
Let's
time.
use when Greta Garbo came in and
yeah, the Maltese Falcon or something like that.
Well,
exactly.
That just proves right there you're a theater person because you know.
Yeah, and a TV person. I mean, you know, I was that typical kind of latchkey kid at a certain period of my childhood. Came home, I was just eating up that television. I mean, it was hypnotic to me. It was like, you know, after school reruns of The Love Boat and Three's Company and Silver Spoons and Different Strokes, and that was totally my jam.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what's funny? When I was a kid, my mom loved those shows, and she would watch things from when she was younger. And for a bit of time when I was young, I thought that was the current era. And when I would go to school and speak to my friends about it, they didn't know what I was talking about. And I was like,
that's funny.
Okay. And I went to my mom and said, Mom, she's like, well, I'm watching things from my childhood. I said, oh, okay. I got really.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And then, you know, of course, the Different Strokes and all those shows were current at that time. I'm an 80s kid. I think it's the best era. You know, by far, everybody's copying us right now and trying to be like the 80s. But
the 80s, the best. Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah.
My goodness, that was the best.
So, if you could be in any movie right now or TV series, which one would you choose?
Oh, wow. That's a big one. Let me throw, what am I? I mean, I can tell you what I love watching right now. I mean, I'm actually on Netflix, I've been watching a lot of docs. But let's see, series-wise, I've been watching The Crown. I have a pretty wide array of tastes. I mean, everything from The Crown to Schitt's Creek to Mindhunter to Succession to Ray Donovan. I mean, those are just all shows that I love. Modern Family, for instance. So as an actor, you know, I really like it all. I like comedy. I like drama. I do improv up here in Vancouver. Again, it's all about the story. It's all about the people involved with it. So if those are lining up, I'm in. You know, I don't stick to just genre or just supernatural or horror or anything like that. I really do it all. But, you know, recently I've been watching those shows that I named, and just, I mean, they're incredible. You know, The Crown, incredible. Ray Donovan, Succession, amazing. All those actors just blowing my mind regularly. And those are just the series. You know, I mean, the features recently, The Joker, Two Popes, all the recent nominees are incredible. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah. I mean, you know, growing up, young actor, sort of coming into the 90s, Quentin Tarantino was the guy. I mean, he was, when I saw Reservoir Dogs, I mean, I think my jaw was literally like hanging on the floor. I had never heard dialogue before. It was this style of verite that was just intoxicating. And then after that, there was, you know, Pulp Fiction, of course, True Romance, which he didn't direct, but he wrote. So, you know, Scorsese, he was another guy coming up that it was just like, I mean, those were the movies I was watching, were his movies, Mean Streets, and all his stuff from the 70s and 80s, Goodfellas. I mean, that was like a Bible to me. I still, to this day, watch that over and over.
Oh, yeah. That movie made Ray Liotta an icon because, you know, of course, there was other amazing, you know, Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, but Ray Liotta after that got that forever stamp on because he did such a great job. Those are iconic movies that still to this day, you could watch it 50 years from now and you'll be like, wow, this is amazing.
It can't be just merely about sort of the optics of a role. But I think, you know, any actor who takes their craft seriously, it's always about the story. And then you start diving into, obviously, specifically the life, the background, the world of your character. As you know, I started on stage. I went to school in New York at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And when you're doing theater, that's all it is. It's like, there's no social media. There's no sort of like, ooh, this is the hot new show or series, and it's like really, really big with this demographic. It's like, no, it's just about the text and getting on that stage and holding space with your fellow storytellers and elevating the story and hopefully elevating each other's work as well. Whoa. And most of the actors that I really resonate with, even the younger generation, but certainly the older ones, still do theater to this day. Ethan Hawke and the Liev Schreibers, Jeremy Strong, who's on Succession, for instance, amazing. Gary Oldman, Andrew Scott, who's on Fleabag. You know, Andrew Scott, he's a British actor.
Of course.
And so all of these people are going back and forth, theater, film, television, and that's the work I love.
You know what's going to happen during this episode, right? During this interview, people are going to be checking out everything you're saying. They're like, okay,
right.
Who's this person? I know every exact one, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But no, you've given some great references, some great people.
I haven't given references to anybody who's under 30 at this point.
Well, it's okay.
Kiernan Shipka. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Sabrina. Now, the original Sabrina's over. It's the new one's different. So, if you could explain yourself with one word, what would it be?
Wow, one word. Curious.
And why?
Yeah, there's curious. I like people. I'm curious about people. You know, I'm one of those guys who asks a lot of questions. You know, when I'm at Whole Foods, you know, and I'm at the checkout, get my groceries, I'm not really sort of like somebody asked me, how are you? Oh, I'm good. I kind of want to challenge myself and the world maybe even a little bit just to engage. I'm like, hey, how's your day? Or what'd you get up to today? I like to just really kind of prod people, engage with people. I'm curious what's going on with them. So I don't know, that word just sort of popped to mind, curious.
Well, you know what? That's a great word.
Yeah.
If you can work with these people again, which one would it be? Kiernan Shipka, Kevin Bacon, Steve Zahn, Rainn Wilson, Freddy Highmore, Joel Kinnamen. Now, okay, let's take Kiernan out because you're currently working with her. You don't want to say no to her right now.
Yeah.
Of these other ones, who would you work with again?
Well, just to sort of like peel back that question and sort of answer a little bit, like, you know, every single actor that I work with, whether they are 12 years old or 72 years old, I take something away from. I always learn from, whether they've been acting for 3 months or 30 years. There is always something that I'm impressed by. I'm like, oh, wow, that's kind of a, you know, that whether it's a depth, a quality, a relaxation, and intensity. Sometimes it's simply their capacity to retain dialogue. I'm always impressed. Kevin Bacon, that was an amazing experience. And the fact that that Kyra Sedgwick was directing, who's his wife, was, I mean, I kind of felt like I was in a scene study class, or I was jamming on stage. It felt like a very actor-friendly environment. And Kyra would come up to me, and she just, you know, it was real actor talk, you know, and she was just encouraging me to get dirty and, you know, go off the script a little bit, and I could overlap, you know, don't worry about overlapping with Kevin. And they were both like that. They were just incredibly present. They brought this lifetime of work to the table. And that was like, oh my gosh, it was such a fantastic experience. Like I said, it felt like I was in just riffing, like I was doing improv, even though we were working with a script. It was incredible. Wow. And Kevin, you know, working opposite him, he just, you know, he brought it. I mean, of course he brought it. You know, we did the rehearsal. You know, you always rehearse before you shoot it, and then exchange a few words, you know, a few pleasantries, but really not much. And sort of, he's kind of quiet a little bit. But man, when that camera got rolling, we were in each other's faces, and he was bringing this ferocity. And he's like, you know, he is a little bit shorter than me, not much, maybe like a couple inches or something like that. I can't quite remember, but he was like a giant in my face. It was just awesome, which of course engaged me and just fueled me. And it was like we were sparring. It was fantastic.
Kevin Bacon, that guy never changes. He looks the same from 1983 to now. It's like he's ageless. It's like he's you know, a clone of himself. He just has that face, and it must have felt so good working with him. It was probably something that's memorable, like you just explained, which is kind of cool that you had those situations, and you're going to have tons more of those, you know, in the future, because the star is bright for you, my brother. But here we go into this section. Have you ever had anything paranormal happen to you?
Oh, I remember this experience that I had as a teenager, and I don't know if it was paranormal, but it sure felt like it at the time. I was in my parents' basement, and I think I'd kind of slept in, or I was taking a nap, you know, sort of mid-morning. I was a teenager, so I slept all the time. And sort of in that half awake, half asleep state, and all of a sudden this wind starts rushing back and forth across my ear, just like whoo, 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 back and forth. And I'm inside, and there's no windows open. And I jolted upright, and these words came out of my mouth. I was like, "Stop it, Peppy, stop it!" And I was like, "Whoa, who's Peppy? This is trippy." And I told my parents about it, and I'd never uttered that word in my life. And this was with my dad and my stepmom, but they said, "Well, you know, your grandfather on your mother's side, your biological mother's side, his sort of nickname was Pepe." And he had long passed at that point. So I don't know if that was Pepe going back and forth over my ear. And essentially, you know, what I took it as a sign of at the time was, wake up, kid, and sort of stop being lazy, get up and do stuff. And maybe that's what Pepe was doing. But it was like a wind tunnel across my ear. It was creepy.
That's pretty spooky because you said a name that you would probably never have said before. When you said that, was she kind of like, whoa?
Yeah, they found it significantly odd, for sure, that I would just bolt upright and say that name.
Yeah,
So obviously there was some I don't know. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe it was not. Some cellular memory in there just emerged.
I ask these things of a lot of guests because there's so many cool stories that come from it. And I've had the most amazing situations. People love talking about it sometimes. Some don't. Some get scared talking about it. Some are like, I don't want to say it because I don't want them to hear me. I'm like, okay, we got to get off the show.
Right. Yeah, right. But you don't want to invoke some spirit, some Beelzebub live on the air.
Well, you got to ask it. Everybody's experience is different. And have you noticed more and more now these things are becoming more common? People are talking about it more. It's like more open there. And I know it's not the movies egging people on, but it's great that people experience different things. And it's good that the fans know and they connect with you. Is there anything that you're currently working on outside of Sabrina that you want to share with the fans so they know like what you're doing or where they could see you? I know you do improv. You like that, so that's pretty cool. Where can they find you? What are you doing? Anything else you want to share with them?
Yeah, speaking of the supernatural, I have a feature coming out this year by a Canadian filmmaker, writer-director, Kiernan Shipka. And I've worked with her a few times, and she is in the sort of supernatural horror genre. And it's called The Curse of Willow Song. And it's about this young woman, this young Chinese woman who was formerly in the gang life and is trying to escape her gang life, and sort of hides out in a warehouse setting, a warehouse kind of residence type thing, and comes across her supernatural abilities and is also sort of fighting off this evil supernatural presence at the same time. So that's my next film. That's coming out sometime this year. And then Karen Lamb and I are in pre-production on a film that her and I have collaborated on. She wrote a script based on a story that I told her, which is, obviously I can't give too much away, but it also has a little bit of a supernatural angle to it. It's set in Las Vegas in the 1970s, and it has a bit of a end of the world thing going on there.
That's
and
haps
people
in the
can
future.
find me on that's going to happen in the near future, actually probably this year. And then in terms of social media, I'm on Instagram. That's where I generally engage the most. I have a Twitter account, but I never use it. Maybe the Sabrina Netflix people will tell me to use it, but I check Instagram regularly, and that is my name, Nelson H. Leis.
So, Nelson, I heard that you also do this amazing thing for actors. You help them out. It's with like auditions and stuff like that. What is that all about? What do you do? How can they get a hold of you?
Right. So my wife and I, Vanessa Walsh, who's also an actor, we run this business. It's called a self-tape studio, and it's essentially when actors need to do auditions that are meant to be sent to other cities. They go to a business like ours and they throw down an audition, and so we provide that service. We read with them and coach them and put together the audition. And so funny enough, Osric Chow, who you interviewed on your show, his brother lives directly upstairs from me. And we're kind of buddies, and Osric needed to do a self-tape recently, and his brother was like, hey, why don't you go downstairs? My friend is an actor, runs a studio. So Osric came over, and that's how I met him. He's an amazing guy, as you know. And so Vanessa and I have been doing that for about 4 years now, and it's called First Glance Studios, and it's in Vancouver. And actors, obviously, from all over Vancouver come, but then when people fly in from Toronto or LA or New York and they need to throw something down, they'll usually hear about us through the grapevine and end up in our house here.
Wow, that's pretty rad. So you guys film them? Is that how it works? They come in, you film them, you get it prepared for them, and then they get to use that?
Yeah, that's right. So we have, in our home studio, we have a bunch of lights and a mic and camera and a backdrop type situation. And so we film them, they stand on their mark and we read the scene with them and coach them if they're open to that or they want that. And then we do the whole editing thing, throw it on to Final Cut Pro, put in the title cards, upload it to Vimeo, and they get sent out to the various agents or reps that these people have at whatever city they're based in. So that's kind of how it works.
How convenient. I know there's a lot of that here in LA and Hollywood, but yours seems so convenient because when you're over there, and especially over there, there's a lot of the DC shows. Warner Brothers has a huge thing going on over there, and a lot of these like movies and things like Marvel stuff is shot over there. So what a convenience thing. What is it called again?
It's called First Glance Studios.
Well, there you go. Well, fans out there, if you want to get a hold of Nelson, reach out to him on Instagram. It's Nelson H. Leis on Instagram. Please follow him, like, comment, share, and watch him on Sabrina on the 24th on Netflix. Check him out as Beelzebub. We love you guys. Nelson, you've been a wonderful guest. We're ready to sign out. Are you ready to sign out from another amazing episode?
Oh, yeah, Galaxy. Let's do this.
We got this. Well, with that said, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Galaxy for another amazing episode of Comic-Con Radio with the cool Nelson Leis. Nelson, we got to blow up 1 billion kisses out there. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Mwah, 1 billion kisses.
Mwah!
From Nelson Beelzebub Leis to the whole universe out there. Catch him on Improv. Go to Canada. Follow this gentleman. Find him. See him. Watch him. Let's support his career. And Nelson, you are always welcome on the show. And with that said, peace.
Peace.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Galaxy signing out from another amazing episode of Comic-Con Radio. Tune in for your daily shows of Comic-Con Radio. Go to comiccon-radio.com. Reach us on social media, Instagram at Comic-Con Radio. Comic-Con Radio, taking the world one listener at a time.